Yo, everybody, what's good? UFC Fight Night Mexico City just concluded. I'm going to go through the entire card, giving my overall reaction and full breakdown. We ended up doing very good on our picks, only missing two, one of which being kind of close. Not too upset about that. Parlays were on pace, long shots, everything was on pace. Ended up not getting a finish by Rosas Jr. I really expected the submission from him. Couple things dropped there. I had Manuel Torres just simply by finish on a lot of different stakes, but also I fucked with the submission prop heavy. I figured Dober would get to the ground and he would flatten him out and try to go for the choke. We know Dober's been susceptible to that in the past, but nonetheless, first round finish is a first round finish, and we did all right. My favorite prop at the end was a quick two leg 5-1 payout. Torres by, or not even Torres. Under a round and a half combined with moneyline Moreno ended up paying 5-1. So that seems really fucking stupid, easy, and safe. Wish I would have hammered it more, but hey, here's let's get into the card. Now, to make the interest of time for those hanging out, I'm gonna start at the very main event, work my way down. I took Brandon Moreno. I took him via just honestly money line in this fight. I was too worried that Moreno would have an opportunity to hit a big, body kick like he hit on Kai, or find himself in a scramble where he is, setting himself up for a nice submission, respecting Erceg's jiu-jitsu, of course. I thought more than likely it was going to be by a knockout or a decision, more than likely. I was too indecisive by method. I sprinkled little bits here and there, but it ended up being, the money line that I was happiest and safest with. Moreno knew that he would demonstrate to Erceg the levels to this, just as Kai had done and Pantoja. I think Erceg still has a lot of promise in the flyweight division, and as the senior class, finishes their reign going after the titles or defending, Erceg will be one of these guys that will be that next vet as your Tatsuro Tairas and Josh Vans and all these younger prospects come up. I do see Erceg eventually having his time at the throne, but with Moreno taking the time, heal, recover mentally, physically, coming back against Albazi, people can say what you want, like, oh, it was Albazi. The man is 17-2 now, thanks to Moreno, and he demonstrated that he had his flow, he's in his rhythm, and you really need someone on their feet to be able to engage Moreno in those gunfights and not allow him to flow and slip and be the one to initiate. Moreno had beautiful left hooks throughout the fight. They were finding home. Erceg's guard, very clean, very solid, very tight. A lot of these shots were blocked throughout the fight, to be honestly, transparent. Erceg did let some things slip through. Eventually, Moreno would find home with that right hand. But overall, it was the volume and consistency of Moreno that gave him this unanimous decision. Erceg, being down, really needed to, put on the gas pedal and find a finish in this fight. He knew he needed a finish, and we didn't see him really turn that on. He's been in this situation a few times now where he's really had to turn it up and hurt him, hurt Moreno, hurt his opponent, and isn't doing so despite his coaches giving good advice and being transparent in the corner. I like the call out from Moreno's corner to switch stances and throw the body kick. I thought the body kick was there throughout the fight, especially with Moreno's head hunting very much early in the fight. But yeah, otherwise very happy with Moreno. I think, he's right in that post-fight speech. He's the kind of guy that's going to be able to move this needle. At the end of the day, he spent a lot of time throughout that quadrilogy against Figgy, someone who was a world beater. And I know Pantoja has Moreno's number, and Royval, in his own regard, is right there too. If you don't want to give Moreno this next title shot, maybe he is just one more fight away. And we've already beaten Kai. Yeah, we have Royval there. I say probably Manuel Kopp would be a good matchup for Moreno. And at that point, I would say from there he deserves a title shot. But if he wanted to sit back and see what happens and they threw him in there one last time, I don't think it's not deserved, because it wasn't Brandon Royval who took the world beater Figgy and took him out the best of four, setting UFC history. It was Brandon Moreno. I have a lot of faith that he will have another title shot before this is done, and will persevere and maybe, go off on that ship. I don't know if he'd be another reigning champion trying to defend any of that. I think his objective is just to have it back and to end on a happy note. And yeah, wishing him the best. Definitely a personal favorite. If you guys haven't checked, follow my IG. I did a huge slab of trading cards and dedication to the fighters this week. Got up Moreno just right now. The other fighters are coming later today, but you'll see that he's one of my favorites just based on the volume of cards I collect on the guy. Moving down the card to the co-main event, we end up getting another one right with this finish. Manuel Torres taking on Drew Dober. I knew that Manuel would look alive in the first round until he didn't. Dober, as the fight would progress, I think would, be considerable favorite, knowing that Manuel's only ever won by a first round finish. Dober's got a hell of a chin. The dude can take shots, but we've seen now the last few times out that he's not invincible anymore like he used to be. He will get dropped. Ended up trying to hold on to a single leg, down on his knees, got dropped. Fucking Manuel just started slamming hammer fist. The first shots did look like they hit him towards the back of the head a little bit. The rest of the shots were across the side, and Dober, the camera angle wasn't showing his face. It was just showing, the backside of him just absorbing all these shots to the face. And the TKO gets called off. He pops up to his feet immediately and still wants to go, protesting the stoppage. I've seen worse stoppages. I've seen better stoppages. I don't think it was going to go Dober's way, so I appreciate saving him some CTE because Manuel's got that crazy, snappy, lengthy power, and those hammer fists were fucking just slapping the shit out of his side of his head. So I don't think it would have changed the outcome. Again, I like the prop under 1.5 rounds, especially in this. If Dober was the one cracking him, we know that Manuel just took a big round 1 knockout as well against Ignacio. So anything could have happened in this fight. And am I confusing yeah, I had the Ignacio. Okay, so anything could have happened in this fight. So I was respecting it a little bit. I played it safer with the distance, but I also had just round 1 prop on Manuel, so we aced that. Impressive performance. One of the most impressive performances of the night, despite the opposition wasn't quite there. Edgar Cherez took on CJ Vergara. Wonderful finish. Edgar is 100% finishing rate in the wins that he has, and he's only ever lost by decision. It's nice to see these little ribbons here so I can see who's getting these performance bonuses. I'm happy with that too. I guessed to myself there'd be at least 4 bonuses. So I'm happy to see Edgar with one of those as well. Well deserved. The guy comes out like fucking Ghost Rider. Comes out absolute fucking savage with his shit. Like, this guy is clean, quick with it. Absolutely dropped CJ. Wonderful shot. And the thing is, you can never count this guy out. If you give up your back to Edgar, he's gonna choke your shit out just as much. CJ likely going to get cut at this point. I mean, the skid is not looking good for him, as you can see here. The cancel bout, the 3 consecutive loss, a very non-notable 2-win streak prior to some back and forth. So probably going to be it for him. Not likely going to see him back. Edgar, I'd like to see have much better level of opposition in his next go. All right, moving down the card, Rosas Jr. took on Vince Morales. Vince a gamer. Vince is absolutely a gamer, and he had Rosas in a world of trouble in various submission attempts. Rosas, in some cases, making these submissions tighter and deeper. And this huge fucking banana phone looking chin that Rosas has is just like, goddamn, can this kid even be choked? Like, his throat's got hands underneath it holding up the hands to protect the throat and the breathing of Rosas, because his face, I'm sure there's going to be memes of it, but his face being choked out, turning purple, turning red like a fucking plum, man, that shit had me fucking dying laughing watching this fight. Now, Rosas early in the fight picking up Vince, throwing him down, ragdolling him around, having that dominant first round. Rosas winning first round is going to be like one of my new favorite props because the kid absolutely goes out there and has a dominant first round and begins to fade. I don't know exactly what that is, but he tends to lose a lot of his like strength and cardio throughout the fight, and yeah, once he doesn't have his way in the first round or so, things start to look a little bit live for his opponents. So, shout out to Vince. Good performance for him. I know his record doesn't show that he's a solid fighter. He's lost 3 in a row last time out, but he's in the UFC especially. But I think he's good enough. I think he's good enough still. Like Rosas Jr. in his own regard is moving towards the eventual rankings, and this guy's just slightly outside of that. So maybe another matchup. I would hate to see him get cut after that performance. He was close against a kid that I think is going to be a future champ easily within his youth. He's only 20 years old, and he's already accumulated 5 UFC wins. That's fucking unreal. He's already breaking records there. All right, moving down. The doctor, David Martinez, the surgeon, taking on Simon Oliveira. I knew that this fight was going to end via finish. It was tough because when you got a guy debuting in the UFC, you're like, well, how good is his takedown defense? How good is he in that submission threat scenario? Is he getting back to his feet? I was more than convinced David was going to get the knockout, as long as he could stay on the feet. I said distance under to be mega fucking safe in this fight, and yeah, came through. David absolutely fucking killer shots with his hands. Comes from a history of kickboxing. Oliveira's best shot in this fight was to get the fight to the ground, attempt to grapple, wrestle. The fact that they were sitting at range, Martinez found his shot, kept dropping Oliveira. It was clean as fucking shit. So, I mean, I'm excited to see Martinez come back. Kind of gave me that UFC China flashback to Ming. Her doctor ass getting a nice little finish. David gets his finish. Looks like he's getting a bonus here as well. Performance of the night bonus. Edgar got a performance of the night. Yeah, it doesn't say specifically, but yeah, they're obviously knockout bonuses. So, big star for him. Putting a lot of story arc in Martinez as well. We're definitely going to see this man back on, potentially a pay-per-view prelim kind of thing. I think they like this guy enough to consider that and try to find matchups slow, steady, not all at once. Let him build into this. Let him grow and develop, especially because we still haven't seen his grappling tested. So, yeah, nice win nonetheless. All right, so here is one of my two missed picks here. We had Ronaldo Rodriguez taking on Kevin Borjas. Borjas is a fucking gamer. I certainly expected that Ronaldo was going to be working off the leg kicks first round, second, third round. It would be heavy grappling exchanges to contain the striking of Kevin. But no, Kevin was able to stay out of these grappling departments for most of the fight, cracking back and forth on the feet. Ronaldo's got a fucking hell of a chin, but Borjas, in his own regard, does as well. In these gunfights, Ronaldo would get fucking dropped, do a little somersault, little clown, cartwheel somersault, get back to his feet and be like, He's just getting fucking dropped. And he's sitting here acting like it's a goddamn game. He wasn't worried. He wasn't respecting Borjas. It was like he had too much ego, too much pride every time Kevin would hit him with a nice 1-2 piece and drop his ass. He would just kept shrugging it off. And it wasn't the only fighter on the card to do that either. We had Jose Medina, which we'll get to here in a minute, having the same, if not worse, reaction to the same ass whoopings. But respected Borjas. He kept it tight. He kept it technical to the fundamentals. He worked off his jab, opened up the big shots. And, he gets the win via decision. Was also surprised this one didn't go under 2.5 rounds, which is another prop I had in the fight, but happy that nonetheless Kevin showed up, put on a hell of a performance, and actually sad to see that maybe he wasn't part of one of these performance of the night bonuses because he was with it for the entirety of that fight. Rosas Ronaldo, I do want to point out, had success with his leg kicks and a little bit in that fight. And anytime he was able to grapple with Borjas, it certainly kept him live in the fight. So maybe swallow your ego, know that you're not going to be able to strike with all these guys, and continue to pressure, especially at elevation. I thought that the submission was very alive for Rodriguez in that fight. All right, moving down, we had Taiba Gutierrez taking on Jose Medina. Goddard, however you say this dude's name. He's Francis Ngannou's little bro. That is Francis's little fucking cousin right there. Don't even have the picture up on Tapology. The disrespect. This dude is a fucking world beater. He's up to 7-1 now. He's a knockout artist. Adds another one there. He's only ever won one by decision and lost one by decision. Another guy that maybe in the grappling department there's some flaws, but he absolutely came out, found his shot. Again, Medina smiling, taunting every fucking time he would get hit instead of trying to switch up the game plan or do anything different. Medina wants to be one of these brawlers. He looks like a fucking unk at a barbecue, from a physique standpoint. And I don't know why he wanted that gunfight. I think his best shot in this fight was to try to grapple up and initiate in the clinch. I do want to say the beautiful combination that we had seen a few times tonight was this 1-2 step back, step in knee. And that chinned the fucking shit out of Medina, dropped him. And despite being able to absorb some other powerful, clean shots, that was the one that dropped him and put him out. Now, Medina wasn't out cold. He was able to get right back up and so forth. But, oh, yeah. Gutierrez is looking good. And I'm looking forward to another fight of his. Another guy that we need to be able to see if someone can cross that void, grapple him up, take him down, see what that looks like on the ground, to know, just how good he is. But predominantly a striker. Moving down, the other fight I got wrong in this. Originally, my pick was taken Costa. I like Costa a lot. He's good at pressuring. His submission threat is always alive in a fight. He tends to be a little bit more dominant in the early rounds, especially like Rosas. When you're dry, all the energy's there. He's good at getting his opponents down to the ground. Christian Rodriguez, his way that he wins is via decision more times than not. It's like a shitty strategic thing that he does where he kind of hugs people up against the side of the octagon, peppers in the shots, peppers in the knees, isn't really doing significant damage, trying to put anybody out. And in this fight, Costa was catching him a little bit, had him cut over the brow, ended up being able to make those a little bit spicier scenarios, sit in that range. Costa's got some great kicks. Rodriguez would do these trips and would invest all this setup and technique and time into setting these trips, which did absolutely nothing because Costa didn't just sit on the ground. He popped right back up to his feet almost immediately. And, it just, I didn't see what the real game plan to actually win the fight from Rodriguez was as Costa continued to persevere. Maybe to tire Costa out for a third round finish. I did have Rodriguez by a third round knockout, but I also had Costa by submission earlier in the fight because I figured it would go one of those two ways. We ended up going to the judges. Close overall fight, not a complete blowout, but yes, Costa gets the decision there. And good for him. He just came off a fight. I figured the additional weight cut here was going to be maybe a little too much for him too soon. He showed up and did his thing, so happy for him. He also does this weird-ass thing when Bruce is calling out his name where he gets really fucking close to Bruce, and Bruce is, like, backing up, and he's still getting fucking close to Bruce, so a little awkward-ass little dog needs to figure that shit out, but good for Milky Boy, or whatever his nickname is. All right, moving down the card, Lupita Godinez taking on Julia Pilastri. Dude, Pilastri does not give a fuck about being punched. She's a little cyborg woman, as far as I know. But her kryptonite is being taken to the ground. Lupita she's like tied third in her division for the takedowns. She's very active with it, and she's great at mixing. She offers a little threat of her own on the feet, some nice exchanges, but more times than not, she's taking this fight to the judges. And so if you had the over on that fight, it was literally like negative 800. Just like it was negative 800 under, fight won't go the distance for Manuel and Dober. So I knew this one was going to the judges. I'd seen a lot of people in the community split. I think some people were fading Godinez because they were able to get like a plus 300 prop by decision for Pilastri. Again, respect to Pilastri. She's tough and off the ground. She was landing vicious elbows off the guard that at times had Godinez standing up, not wanting her to do anything with that. So I think the game plan from Godinez was to smother Pilastri, keep her on the ground, but at times they would get back up to the feet because Julia was very live in this fight. And towards the end of this fight, it actually started picking up for Julia. Godinez's guard started lowering. Julia having energy somehow throughout this fight, sticking, landing shots. Godinez circling off, starting to show some damage, getting a little bloody. Julia just seemed like she could still go another 2 more rounds after that fight. So shout out to Pilastri, liked her fight, looking to see what she's going to do next. I originally stuck to my heart with Godinez, knowing that, yeah, she's had a bit of a skid, but these are against women that are top of the division, and Pilastri's got to prove herself that she even fits in. So wasn't too sure why so many people were high on Julia. Minus being one of two ladies at the scale and looking better of the two. Not too sure why people went that route, but hey, we cash out on Godinez by decision. Moving down, another decision prop that I called out very specifically on my fight picks this week. I put down in the handle below who was knocking who was tapping who, and who was getting the decision. So I was pretty happy with the accuracy of that this week. Hope some people followed and cashed out. Rafael Garcia took on Vince Hell Pichel. Dude, I'm not going to lie. Again, good first round by Garcia. Solid, pretty dominant. Had mixed it pretty decently. The striking on point. But in that second round, Vince started finding his jab. And Vince is actually a bit bigger in stature, longer, lengthier, had that extra reach. And Pichel was just sticking his jab throughout majority of this fight, finding times to come back. This one was very close, and I wouldn't have been offended had it not been. I wouldn't have been offended if this fight would have went to the judges or a fucking draw. Thank you. But Garcia did his thing. Edges a decision, and at this point, I wonder, with Vince going down to 14-5. He's one of the oldest fighters on the roster, 42 years old, so he is the oldest fighter. Rosas being on the same card, the youngest fighter. It's pretty funny. Sadly, I think this might be it for him. If you look at his breakdown here, he's had a series of cancellations. That sucks. But now this is his third consecutive loss, so seems like a nice guy. He had moments in this fight. Certainly gave it everything in the end. I think he knew he was down and was trying to, pull it out of his 42-year-old ass, and I thought he put up a hell of a fight back, but Garcia very slightly edges this one due to his overall volume on that. So, all right, and definitely some of the bigger shots too. All right, moving down the card, Jamal Emmers taking on Gabriel Miranda. I had this one dead to rights finish, and I had Jamal by the knockout. I saw some people fading Jamal with submission. Miranda's alive in any fight by submission because that's the only way he wins. And a fight at the end of the day is two men, 50-50. But when you break down the science, you break down the physiques, the genetics, who's doing what, Miranda cannot defend strikes. He puts his chin up in the air. He puts himself in bad situations. And I knew that Emmers, with his striking, was going to find the chin and absolutely drop Gabriel, and that's exactly what happened. First round knockout. Emmers had his share of, back and forths as well. Had to take some time away, come back, dial in, and paid off for him as well. So, sad again, Dana. Where's the bonus at here for Emmers? But I understand with the level of opposition, too. There wasn't a lot to prove in that one. I think that was a nice layup to get Emmers back into the win column and see what's next for him. But yeah, wonderful knockout, easy work, good shit. Kicking off lastly on the first card of the Friday the fucking card. God damn, I need to give me a minute here. Where's my goddamn drink? Take a minute. Goddamn scatterbrain from last night. Having no sleep doing this shit. Alright, so we had Austin Hoover taking on Markel Medeiros. I thought Medeiros lost this fight. I did have him as my pick. I thought he would either get a knockout earlier in the fight or would just slightly edge a decision, knowing that as the fight progressed, Austin would start to come back and fade. I figured it'd be like a 2-1. In reality, Austin totally dominated that second round. And yeah, the first round's a little whatever, but I actually see it 2-1 going to Hubert. I thought Austin did enough. They robbed my man, to be fair. And the crowd booed and let everybody know. And whenever DC's like grabbing the microphone, coming up to you saying, hey, crowd's booing you, you know, give me your overall reaction, how you think you do enough to win this fight, you know. Anytime he's having that conversation, we know it's a close one or there could have been a counter argument for a robbery, and he just kind of agreed with it. You know, he's just like, hey, you know, at the end of the day, I walk out with a W, but yeah, he wasn't sitting here having like, oh man, I totally had Austin. I don't know what these people are talking about. Like, that's the pill you don't want to take in UFC. It will kill a fan base real quick, turn people against you. So respect to Austin, but yeah, the striking is what ultimately led to Austin not winning this fight. He didn't have enough volume. He had the control time, he had the submission attempts, but he did not have the volume in his strikes. So if he can find a way to backpack, grapple, throw in some strikes, do better in the clinch work when he needs that kind of shit, I think he edges these decisions, but sadly he just slightly loses this one, even though rightfully so. I don't think he should have. But anyways, that's going to be my UFC Mexico City breakdown. Next week we got Josh Emmett taking on Lerone Murphy, and there's some other fighters on that card that I'm excited to see as well. So much love, y'all. Thanks for coming through. If you didn't get a chance to check out some of my reaction videos, those should be live in the live section for the YouTube. And yeah, I'll come back at you next week with another series of picks. I think we absolutely crushed this card by method and by fighter pretty accurately. So excited to see what's next. As always, much love. We'll catch you next time. Peace.